You're watching a Highwire Media podcast. Welcome to the Cinema Gold Show. As always, I'm your host, Larry Lease. On today's episode of Let's Talk, which, if you don't know, airs on the last Friday of every month, we dive into a range of topics related to film and television. And this week, we are arguing in favor of watching movies in theaters and why the cinema experience can't be replaced. So, with that, let's dive right into today's topic. In an age of increasingly dominated by home streaming services and digital entertainment, the necessity of going to a movie theater might appear obsolete. With the proliferation of high-definition televisions, surround sound systems, and on-demand access to an expansive array of films, watching movies from the comfort of one's home is not only convenient, but also technologically sophisticated. Yet this shift in viewing habits raises a significant question. Does home streaming truly offer an equivalent experience to traditional cinema? Is the movie theater simply an outdated habit? Or is it, in fact, a cultural and psychological experience that digital convenience cannot replicate? Streaming platforms, while efficient and accessible, often fail to replicate the sensory, psychological, and cultural dimensions of the theater. The immersive power of cinematic environments, the communal energy of collective viewing, and the preservation of artistic intention all suffer when films are reduced to background entertainment or personalized consumption. More importantly, movie theaters serve as cultural landmarks and sites of public memory. Their gradual decline represents not just a shift in habits, but a potential loss of deeply human mode of engagement with art, story, and one another. So tonight, we're going to argue that watching movies in theaters offers an irreplaceable experience, one deeply rooted in cultural, psychological, and artistic significance. The movie theater is not merely a place to watch a film, it is a communal, immersive, and ritualistic space that enhances narrative impact and emotional resonance. It sustains the integrity of film as an art form, supports diverse film economies, and offers unique social and cognitive benefits that home environments cannot replicate. So, we're going to explore these dimensions through aesthetic theory, social psychology, anthropology, and film studies. One of the most fundamental arguments in favor of theatrical movie viewing lies in its superior capacity to facilitate sensory immersion and cognitive focus. The physical architecture and technological design of the movie theater are specifically engineered to create an environment in which viewers can be fully absorbed in the cinematic world. From massive screens and precise sound systems to controlled lighting and silence, the theater generates a sensory atmosphere that shields the audience from external distractions. Today's episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus, the streaming service with something for everyone. When it comes to streaming, there's a lot out there, but few platforms deliver like Paramount Plus. Whether you're into gripping dramas, laugh out loud comedies, true crime documentaries, or blockbuster films, Paramount Plus has you covered. You can stream everything from hit series like Criminal Minds, NCIS, and Tulsa King, to massive movie franchises like Mission Impossible, Transformers, and Top Gun. Plus, there's a constantly growing library of Paramount Plus originals that keep you coming back for more, including 1923 Special Ops Lioness. And it's not just shows and movies, you also get live sports, including the NFL on CBS, college football, the UEFA Champions League matches, and you can even stream your local CBS station live for breaking news and special events. Here's the best part. Right now, you can try Paramount Plus free for 1 week. Yep, a full week of unlimited streaming completely free. Just go to ParamountPlus.com or click the link in the description to start your free 1 week trial today. So if you're looking for your next binge, or you just want a platform that gives you everything, from heart-pounding action to award-winning series, make it Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus, where entertainment lives. And now, let's get back to our episode. Psychological research further supports this claim. According to Green and Brock, the concept of narrative transportation refers to a psychological state in which a person becomes entirely engaged in a story, to the point of losing awareness of their immediate surroundings. This phenomenon is much more easily achieved in theaters than at home, where environmental distractions ranging from your smartphone going off, family members, to kitchen noises and notifications break the narrative flow and diminish emotional investment. Furthermore, the theater experience creates a sense of psychological containment. Much like the black box of the experimental lab, the theater becomes a self contained space where time, place, and individual preoccupations are momentarily suspended. This suspension highlights or heightens a viewer's ability to emotionally engage with the characters and plot. Viewers are not just watching the film, they are experiencing it with heightened perception in a shared emotional field. The communal silence, the darkness, and the structure unfolding a narrative create conditions under which the audience can collectively lose themselves in the story. While the technological and sensory elements of movie theaters provide one compelling argument for their continued relevance, an equally powerful justification lies in the social experience they offer. Watching a film in a theater is rarely a solitary act. Rather, it is a collective ritual embedded with psychological and cultural dimensions. The audience, though composed of strangers, becomes a temporary community bound by shared emotional responses. In this space, laughter, fear, joy, and sadness become group phenomena, intensified and amplified by the presence of others. This phenomenon of emotional synchrony is supported by research in social psychology. Sejong's theory of social facilitation suggests that people tend to experience heightened emotional responses in the presence of others. A joke that might elicit a smile in solitude becomes becomes an uproar in a room full of laughing strangers. A suspenseful moment becomes more terrifying when accompanied by the audible gasps and tense silences of fellow viewers. These communal responses intensify the impact of the film and transform the act of watching into a shared emotional journey. Theater culture also provides a space for identity, formation, and belonging, especially among fan communities. Midnight screenings of blockbuster releases, such as those in the Marvel Cinematic Universe or Harry Potter series, have become more than just entertainment. They are performative acts of fandom. Attendees wear costumes, chant lines, and participate in call and response interactions that extend the film's world into a live communal performance. This is particularly meaningful for marginalized communities who find affirmation, representation, and solidarity in the shared viewing of culturally significant stories. Anthropologically, the communal aspect of cinema echoes the traditional functions of storytelling in pre modern societies. Stories were shared aloud, often around a fire or in ceremonial settings, binding the group together through collective meaning making. In the modern context, the movie theater functions similarly. The darkened auditorium replaces the firelight. The cinematic screen becomes the new storyteller. Excuse me. Victor Turner's theory of communitas, temporary egalitarian communities formed during shared rituals, helped explain the social cohesion experienced during theatrical viewing. Central to the argument for preserving the theater experience is the notion of artistic integrity. Films are not merely content, they are complex aesthetic texts created for a particular medium. The vast majority of directors, cinematographers, sound designers, and editors craft their work with the expectation that it will be experienced in a theatrical setting. This environment is not just a matter of size and scale, it's a critical component of how film communicates meaning. The concept of the auteur is relevant here. Developed through French film criticism and advanced by scholars, auteur theory posits that the director is the primary creative force behind a film, akin to a novelist or painter. Auteurs such as Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve have repeatedly emphasized that their films are designed to be viewed on the big screen, where the relationship between image, sound, and viewer is optimal. Consider the use of scale in cinema. Films like Dunkirk, Interstellar, or The Revenant use vast landscapes, long takes, and meticulous spatial composition to evoke existential or emotional themes. These elements are significantly muted when viewed on a tablet or smartphone. The grandeur of a mountain range or the isolating vastness of outer space loses much of its visual power when confined to a personal device. The aesthetic logic of the film, the way it used visual scale to convey narrative tone, is lost. Sound is another element deeply affected by the viewing environment. The careful layering of ambient noise, dialogue, musical score, and sound effects is calibrated for high fidelity sound system that theaters are uniquely equipped to provide. In A Quiet Place, the interplay of silence and sudden bursts of sound is vital to the film's tension. In Tenet, the soundscape is is integral to understanding the film's layered temporal structure. Home systems often compress or flatten these details, diluting their effort, or their effect, I should say. Additionally, the shared darkness and uninterrupted presentation of a theater preserve the narrative rhythm of a film. Editing, pacing, and tonal shifts are experienced as intended, without pausing or rewinding. This uninterrupted flow respects the filmmaker's narrative authority and enhances audience engagement. When audiences watch at home, they often break the film into segments, diluting emotional momentum and undermining the creative architecture of the story. To watch a film in a theater is to encounter it on its own terms, within the artistic, technical, and narrative framework envisioned by its creators. It is an act of interpretive respect, akin to viewing a painting in a gallery rather than on a postcard. Do apologize for this lighting because all of a sudden the sun's like just blaring into my room. I don't have any blinds right now, but hopefully I can fix that for the next episode. For those who value cinema as an art form, the theater is not just a venue, it is the canvas on which the full scope of the filmmaker's vision can be realized. Cinema going is not merely a form of entertainment, it's a cultural ritual deeply embedded in modern social life. The act of going to the movies, traveling to a theater, purchasing a ticket, entering a dark room with strangers, and surrendering to a story mirrors the structure of traditional rites of passage. As cultural anthropologist Victor Turner describes, rituals consist of liminal experiences that separate individuals from their everyday realities and guide them through transformative moments. The communal nature of cinema adds a crucial dimension to this ritualistic structure. Whether it's a weekend outing with friends, a family tradition, or a romantic first date, moviegoing is frequently associated with memory making and identity formation. People often recall significant life moments through the films they saw and the experiences that surrounded them. Theaters provide a shared setting for these events, becoming a kind of memory theater, where stories unfold both on and off screen. In many global contexts, the ritualistic nature of cinema is even more pronounced. In India, first day, first show screenings are celebratory events, with fans arriving hours early, chanting, dancing, and performing symbolic acts of devotion. These screenings function as communal gatherings that reinforce cultural narratives and social hierarchies. Similarly, in countries like Japan, Korea, Egypt, the release of major films coincides with national holidays or seasonal festivals, making cinema a timeline marker in the collective memory. Beyond, beyond ritual cinema, Beyond ritual, cinema also carries civic and ethical functions. Films like Schindler's List, Hotel Rwanda, or The Act of Killing offer audiences the chance to collectively reflect on issues of historical trauma, genocide, and human rights. When viewed in a theater, these films often spark conversations that continue outside the auditorium, sometimes in lobbies, sometimes in classrooms, sometimes in national media. The communal nature of the theater gives weight and immediacy to these reflections. Finally, the theater offers a rare space in which social boundaries can momentarily dissolve. People of different ages, races, classes, and ideologies sit by side in silence, experiencing the same emotional journey. This form of temporary egalitarianism, or communitas, in Turner's terms, is increasingly rare in polarized societies. Cinema, through its ritual structure, reminds us of our shared humanity and our collective capacity for empathy and reflection. Another enduring reason for the continued relevance of movie theaters is the psychological function they serve. Critics often use the term escapism, suggesting a retreat from reality into fantasy. Yet in psychology and narrative theory, escapism is more accurately understood as a necessary cognitive process, one that enables emotional regulation, mental rest, and symbolic integration of personal experiences. The movie theater, with its immersive and structured environment, provides an ideal space for such healing processes. I'm not even going to pronounce that, but Mihail, definitely a Russian, from 1990, the theory of flow, a state of deep absorption and optimal experience, applies powerfully to the theory context. or theater context. Unlike at home, where multitasking is common and interruptions are frequent, the theater promotes full engagement with a single task. Watching and emotionally processing a film in this setting, the viewer can enter a flow state in which time seems suspended and one's sense of self temporarily dissolves into the narrative. This can be profoundly restorative for individuals experiencing stress, burnout, or trauma. Additionally, cinema offers a space for the safe exploration of taboo or emotionally intense subjects. Films dealing with death, trauma, addiction, and existential anxiety allows viewers to confront difficult emotions in symbolic form. Carl Jung's concept of the collective unconscious suggests that symbolic stories function as psychological mirrors, allowing individuals to see parts of themselves reflected in archetypes such as the hero, the outcast, the lover, or the shadow. Films such as Requiem for a Dream and Everything Everywhere All at Once exemplify this function. Research on trauma recovery and expressive therapy supports the idea that narrative immersion can aid in emotional processing. According to clinical psychologist Penny Sartori, storytelling, especially when shared in communal environments, can serve as therapeutic function. The emotional journey of a film enables viewers to externalize their feelings, identify with characters, and find symbolic resolution. The communal nature of the theater enhances this process, as the shared response of the audience validates individual emotion and facilitates catharsis. The symbolic nature of returning to theaters after traumatic events further illustrates their psychological function. Following the 9/11 attacks in the United States, or more recently, the COVID-19 pandemic, many people viewed the return to movie theaters as a return to normalcy. In both cases, the resumption of communal viewing marked a step towards collective healing. The darkened room, the collective silence, and the shared laughter or tears offered more than a diversion. They offered a form of security, connection, and emotional renewal. It is important to acknowledge the counterarguments to theatrical moviegoing, particularly in an era where home viewing is more accessible, affordable, and customizable than ever before. Advocates for streaming argue that the ability to pause, rewind, control the environment, and choose from vast libraries of content makes at home entertainment inherently superior. These conveniences are significant, particularly for those with disabilities, young children, or limited income. However, the convenience of home viewing comes at a cultural cost, one that erodes the communal, artistic, and immersive value of cinema. Another counterargument pertains to health and safety concerns, especially following the COVID-19 pandemic. Fears around close seating, shared spaces, and airborne transmission are valid and have understandably shifted public behavior. Yet the cinema industry has adapted, introducing upgraded ventilation systems, contactless ticketing, socially distanced seating, and even private screenings. In these adjustments, theaters have demonstrated resilience and a willingness to innovate in the face of adversity. The decline of theaters should not be confused with their obsolescence. Rather, it is a reflection of shifting economic and cultural conditions. To survive, theaters must evolve, not by mimicking streaming platforms, but by emphasizing their unique strengths. Special event screenings like Q&As with filmmakers, thematic retrospectives, and partnerships with schools and museums can reinvigorate public interest. In doing so, theaters reassert their role, not just as entertainment venues, but as educational and civic institutions. Cinema, when experienced in a theater, becomes something more than the sum of its parts. It is not merely the content that matters, the context, the architecture of the screen, the presence of strangers, the ritual of anticipation. These dimensions are easily overlooked when film is reduced to a consumable file on a personal device. But their absence diminishes the power of storytelling, the integrity of art, and the possibilities of human connection. To abandon theater is to lose part of our cultural infrastructure, a space where imagination meets community, where art meets emotion, and where stories come alive, not just on screen, but within and between people. The future of cinema does not depend solely on what we watch, but how, where, and with whom we experience it. The theater remains the most vital answer to that question. Let me know your thoughts on this topic in the comments section below. And of course, if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. As always, everything you give goes right back into the channel. And with that, Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.